Welcome to our first podcast with BLICK Law Firm featuring attorney MICHAEL-BLICKENSDERFER and attorney ALEX-SERRANO. Welcome.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you for joining us today. Our current topic for today is civil litigation, and I just wanted, before we get started and jump into it, MICHAEL-BLICKENSDERFER, you're the senior attorney at BLICK Law Firm. Please just give us a little educational background of...
Sure. I went out of high school. Actually, I went into the Marine Corps, and when I got out of the Marines, I went to undergrad in Ohio. I went to Ohio University. I got a business degree, and after graduating, I went to New York, and I worked in the airline industry for a number of years. I ended up going to law school at night. I went to Seton Hall Law School and graduated in 1985, 86, and I then took the bar in New York, New Jersey, and a year later in Florida. So I've been practicing ever since. I spent a number of years as a prosecutor in New York. I worked also for a couple firms in the New York area where I got experience in labor law and personal injury, criminal defense, among other things, and moved down here with a family in 1999. Worked for a few firms here, and now we've been blessed to open up our own practice, our own firm here, BLICK Law Firm, in the Carrollwood area a couple years ago.
Fabulous. That's a vast background. Alex, you want to share a little bit about yourself?
Absolutely. ALEX-SERRANO, I'm a local attorney. I was born and raised in Tampa, Florida. Attended high school at nearby Tampa Catholic High School, then went on to Florida State University, where I got my undergraduate degree in political science. I minored in both English and history with my eye towards going to law school. I finished up law school at Barry University, and I have been with BLICK Law Firm now for 2 years with concentration in criminal law, bankruptcy, and personal injury litigation.
Wonderful. Well, let's just get started with the questions. Michael, the first question's for you. Since the start of your legal career, have you seen any or can share any trends in regards to civil litigation?
Sure. Many times we've seen trends where the insurance industry has gone to Tallahassee and lobbied changes in the laws that always make it more beneficial, it seems, for the insurance industry. One area I can think of is the sinkhole area, where there's been a number of changes that have helped the insurance industry pay less in claims against sinkhole claims. There's other areas, notably in the personal injury area, in the PIP no-fault statutes. We continue to see the insurance lobby trying to make changes that restrict the benefits that insureds have following an accident. And it's being litigated right now because many people, I agree with many people, I don't think it's constitutional what they're trying to do, what they've actually done. The latest PIP statute can restrict benefits to only $2,500 in no-fault benefits, when in fact, as an insured, you're paying for mandatory PIP insurance, and the coverage is $10,000, sometimes a little bit less with a deductible, but you can be in many times now, because of the changes in the PIP laws, you can actually be paying for $10,000 of personal injury benefits, but when you have an auto accident, your carrier is going to restrict it and say, sorry, you're only entitled to $2,500 in benefits. It just doesn't seem right. It doesn't seem to be constitutional. It is being challenged in the courts, but it's an area in the personal injury field that we find is again an example of one of the areas where the insurance lobby puts pressure on politicians in Tallahassee to change laws that make it more beneficial for the insurance carriers and less beneficial for the man in the street that's paying for his insurance premiums, getting injured, and then finding out, that the laws aren't working in his behalf. We've also found a trend that many of the insurance carriers seem to be nickel and diming in terms of offers on a lot of cases. There's a few carriers, notably, that seem to lead this, Again, it seems to be bad faith on behalf of the insurance industry by not settling with a fair and reasonable offer. They force many times a case to be filed and litigated in the civil courts, which buys the insurance company time. Many times once a lawsuit's filed, it's adding another year to a year and a half to even 2 years onto the time of that case. So when somebody's injured and they treat for 3, 4, 5 months and then they hope to get a settlement and get the case resolved, only to find out that the carrier is just, again, making a very unreasonable offer, we have to file a lawsuit on their behalf. And again, this person who's been injured, no fault of their own, is now faced with another year, year and a half, 2 years of being involved in a case, no fault of their own. But that's what we're here for. We're here to help people in those situations. Alex?
Well, just a quick question. Do you find a lot of clients go into it, they don't understand the process, and they don't like the whole litigation process, waiting 2 years? I mean, what is your perspective with dealing with clients?
Well, it's an educational process. Yeah, most people, unless they've been involved in a previous lawsuit, have no idea. I mean, yeah, there's lots of things on TV now, and everybody seems to be a lawyer on TV, and everybody seems to be an expert. But when it comes down to the reality of it, most people just don't have any idea. And there's a whole bunch of issues to go through and consider in civil litigation, and that's where you need an experienced team of lawyers on your side helping you through this process. Alex?
Building off of that, with the ever-changing landscape of personal injury law and the development of technology and even the new legislation, as Michael touched on, it presents ongoing challenges for the attorneys to continue building their legal education so that they can be informed and be able to present the reality of the case to their client and explain it in terms so that they understand what the process is all about. And again, with the ever-changing landscape, we are dealing with laws and legislation that are currently in dispute, but the clients need to be made aware of the possibility that even under their own policy, their coverage could be limited. Presenting emergency medical conditions within 14 days of the auto accident and getting treated for those conditions is key. And obviously, as it's our obligation as attorneys to continue the education and understand what we need to do to better serve our clients.
Just again, a follow-up on that, Alex. You mentioned changing technology. Many times it used to be in a lawsuit, we'd have to caution our clients or at least let them know that there could be surveillance videos done in a case, again, by the defense. And again, it seems like, wow, really? I'm injured, and now they're going to send out a private investigator to try to catch me doing something. But many times it is a tool that the defense would use, like a gotcha type of thing, where our clients are claiming, oh, my back, and then there's a video of him unloading groceries or bowling, or so, that's just a reality of litigation. Many times the defense would rather pay thousands and thousands of dollars to defend a case than to put a reasonable offer on a case and just settle it. We also find out, again, with the changing technology, many times they don't have to even bother with surveillance anymore because everybody's on Twitter and Facebook and all these other, and the defense is going to look at these sites and see if they can find the plaintiff, the client, the injured party, in some situation where it seems to contradict what they're claiming about your injuries. And I know it's hypocritical and it's ironic because many times you can't see pain. You certainly can feel it. You can live with it. And you can have a picture at an outing or a picnic or something like that. It's very innocent and you're still in pain, but the defense might find that and try to use it against you at some point. So these are all issues that we find that as litigation and technology evolves come up in some cases.
So how do you find that you educate your clients as far as, social media is constantly changing. Maybe Alex, you can touch on that point.
Well, from the start of a case, we try to let our clients know and inform them of the dangers of promoting their social activities on social media websites. The insurance companies are on a daily basis utilizing those sites to find more information about, personal injury litigants. And basically they're using that as a tool to absolve themselves from liability, or at least to insulate themselves from shelling out more money. So it is important to advise the client the dangers of, like Michael had said about, previously they used to surveil plaintiffs in personal injury civil actions, and now it's so much easier to do so, and we see it on a daily basis. Even the adjusters will tell us that they went on Facebook and saw our client doing this or that, and while it might not be overall indicative of the fact that there are no injuries, it's, like Michael said, a seemingly innocent photo that's being taken out of proportion or out of context. So it's difficult, but we're aware of that, and obviously building off of that, it's really important to inform the clients.
To touch on what you said with, the law changes with the PIP, and it's kind of right now currently being back and forth. It's not being resolved between attorney and Tallahassee.
It's in litigation.
Okay.
Right.
My question is, how long, it seems that the insurance companies are more supported right now. Do you think, from when you started, Michael, was the turnover for litigation quicker, or that doesn't matter? Because now social media is in play. There's a lot of other factors. So seems to be supporting the insurance companies.
When you say turnover, if you mean the length of a case once it goes into suit, it all depends on the jurisdiction you're in.
Okay.
I came from New York, and cases that were filed in New York sometimes would have a life of 4, 5, 6 years, depending on the complexity of the case, but the dockets were just so much more crowded in New York. Here in Florida, it depends on the jurisdiction that you're in. Some jurisdictions move the cases much faster than others. Obviously, if you're in a bigger area like Tampa or St. Pete, and the dockets are going to be a little bit more crowded than if you're up in Brooksville or somewhere else, in Dade City or something. But the cases, again, I don't see any change in the length of the cases given any changes in legislative areas or even technology.
Well, Alex, as far as the current changes with e-filing and getting everything pre-suit, that must be a different trend nowadays. You want to?
Well, again, the challenges that attorneys are presented with in continuing their legal education and developing their practice. Obviously, as a younger attorney, I've seen quite a bit of change already. Now, even with the policy of filing the litigation through the e-filing system, which is more efficient. Obviously, a lot of changes, though, presented some obstacles, I think, from the clerk's perspective as far as how these things were being accepted, how they were being filed, what costs are associated with it. But it seems to be moving in a more effective way. And, we develop that daily as far as making it easier on ourselves and learning the system.
It is saving a lot of time in mailing, the expensive mailing. Now everything's just scanned and filed, so it's saving a lot of time, especially in the discovery area. When we put a case into litigation, there's several phases, and the first phase of a case is discovery, where the plaintiff, the injured party, or the defendant, both sides are going to ask questions of each other, get medical records and documents, and then usually set depositions after that. Following the depositions being heard, then generally we'll try to put the case for mediation, because any case, civil case, has to be mediated before it can go on the trial docket. And then once that takes place, we push it to trial. But we try to be aggressive and proactive to push these things along, because otherwise the defense tactic is to try to drag things out as long as they can. Witnesses disappear, people lose interest, doctors retire, so it's always in the interest of the defense to drag things out, whereas a plaintiff, we want to push things along as fast as we can.
That's a great point. And just to sum it up, is there any other experiences you'd like to share as far as personal injury litigation?
Well, like we've said, touched on, and Alex said, it's an educational process for a client. It's one thing to just get your case. Most cases, like 95% of the cases that we get, the claims, are settled pre-suit. Or even if we file litigation, they get settled and don't actually go all the way to trial. But having said that, it's an educational process. When litigation's filed, it's a very strange territory for many people, and we have to do a lot of education along the process to bring the people in, to talk to them, to keep them abreast of what's going on, what's expected of them, what we need. So it is a very unfamiliar territory for people. They need an experienced legal team on their side to guide them through this, give them the best advice, and try to get the best outcome for their case.
Alex, do you have any last comments?
Absolutely, and I agree with what Michael said. And again, it's important. It's an obligation for the attorney to really allow the client to become informed of the process, and really, especially when you get to the discovery phase, and the client really has to be hands-on as far as providing us with the information about the case and being available for depositions and things of that nature that certainly drag out the timeline of the case, and they really need to be aware of how long those types of things can take so that they understand the process more thoroughly.
Well, thank you guys for your time. Thank you, Michael-BLICKENSDERFER, attorney ALEX-SERRANO.
Hey, thanks for having us on.
Thank you.
Well, that's a wrap today as we talk about civil litigation. And thank you, listeners, for joining in. And if you have any questions, please feel free to email us at questions@BLICK-LAW-FIRM.com. Again, thank you, Michael and Alex, for your time, and we'll stay tuned for our next podcast featuring Michael-BLICKENSDERFER and ALEX-SERRANO, BLICK Law Firm.
Until the next time, thank you.